Switchcraft is brought to you live, mostly live, 3 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and on Saturday at whatever time I can get to it. Tune in live over at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp. This episode of Switchcraft is brought to you by patrons like you. Support Switchcraft and my other content for as little as $1 over at patreon.com/runjumpstomp. And once you're there, make sure you check out the bonus podcast that is exclusive to patrons. Looking for another way to support the show? You can do so by heading on over to runjumpstomp.com/audible. Get a free book and directly support the show by checking out Audible. They have thousands of books from every possible genre. You're guaranteed to find something that you like over there. So to get your free book, again, head to runjumpstomp.com/audible. Get a free book today and support the show. Before I get into everything, I'm just going to explain something real quick. It is pretty late at night, and I did not get a chance to record the show at the normal time today. That's why there's no live show. That's why if you're watching on YouTube, there's no video. I'm just going to take some game footage and throw it up over the audio today. And the reason for that is because I got home after work. I've talked about this on the show before, but my dad and I are re-siding my house, and so I was helping him with that. Then when my son got home, it turned out that he had fallen at the playground, so I took him to the doctor. After that, I came home. My niece had a swim meet that I had to go to. Then I had to come home and make dinner, and it was just one thing after another. Then my father-in-law stopped by to pick up some windows that we had just taken out of the house. He was going to take them back to put into his barn. And overall, today has just been all go. It's just been crazy around here, and I'm just now sitting down, I think, for the first time today. It's 8 o'clock at night, which I know I said is really late, but it's really late for me to be recording the podcast. That being said, now that I've explained why I let people down today and there was no live show, I'm sure that you all understand, and I appreciate that. But let's jump in and talk about Nintendo Switch Online. It is here. It is live. I've bought my plan. I bought the family plan because we have 2 Switches in the house. 2 Switch in the house. I don't know what the plural... I've never been able to figure out what the plural of Switch is. I suppose we have 2 Switch systems in the house is the safest bet. But we've got 2 of them in the house, so I ended up going with the family plan. And yet last night is... I don't know, it's probably around this time I reached out to our community Discord, which if you haven't joined yet, you absolutely should. You can find that over at runjumpstomp.com/discord. But I jumped into the community Discord and I said, is anybody here who could help me test out the voice using the app and play some NES games? And Beats Alive said, hey, I can help you, Bill. And we jumped in. I had my phone sitting there on the desk, and he was using a headset. And I started up the game, and then he joined, and then it made him join the voice chat, and we were able to talk. There was no echo. Everything sounded great. It worked really well. It worked really, really well. Echo, stop it. My Amazon thing is doing stupid things for some reason. It went really well, and then we tested out if I could just hand the controller over to him, make him player 1, so he could play and I could just watch. And there was a reason for that, and I'll get to that in just a second. But that also worked really well. We were able to play multiplayer games together. We were able to play single-player games watching each other. We were able to talk the whole time, and it worked very well. It would have been better had I been able to do this without the use of a phone, but I was really surprised at how smooth everything went, and I was impressed. Overall, I was very impressed. It is, of course, needlessly complicated, but at the same time, it worked very, very well. After a couple of tests, I said thank you. He took off and did his own thing, and I kept playing some NES games for a little bit. Overall, I think the experience is very good. It's not as good as it could be, but it's very good. Now, why was I asking Beats to help me test out playing single player? That's a very good question that you may be thinking, and here's the answer. I am going to be doing a tournament. I'm not positive as to the date. I was planning on doing it next Friday at my normal streaming time, which is 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern. And a lot of people pointed out, well, most of us are still at work at that time. So now I'm going to try and figure out how can I do it on a weekend, trying to fit it into my schedule. And here's how the tournament is going to work. The prize is still to be determined. I'm not sure exactly what the prize will be, but that's beside the point. People do this because it's fun, not because, excuse me, not because of the tiny prize that they get. You know, it'll probably be an eShop gift card or something like that. The way that it is going to work is I'm going to be streaming. People will be able to see my screen, and then people who want to participate in the tournament will join my screen. I will make them player one, and they will try to get the highest possible score in Balloon Trip as they can. By the end of the stream, whoever has the highest score wins the prize. And I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. Balloon Trip is a really, really good game. And if you haven't played it, it is a small subset of Balloon Fight. And it's just a single player mode where there's these little sparkies all over the place. And you have to float from right to left, which was weird to me because I'm always used to Nintendo stuff being left to right. But you have to float right to left and pop balloons along the way. You know, the music in today's episode is by Note Block, and it is a remix of the Balloon Trip music, which is one of my favorite video game songs of all time. Really, really great song. So make sure that you check out Note Block's version of that, which you heard at the beginning of the show, and of course you'll hear at the end. And you can find that music at runjumpstomp.com/music. All right, now that I've gotten distracted, I saw something shiny, I talked about it. Let's get away from the shiny thing. So that's what's going on with the tournament. Make sure that you join the Discord for all of the details, like exactly when it's going to be, so that you can participate, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And, you know, maybe you got skills in Balloon Trip. And if that's the case, then good on you. But make sure that you're practicing, because I already told the people in the Discord, I said, make sure you're practicing Balloon Trip to get as high a score as you can, because you want to win. You definitely want to win. All right, let's continue talking about Nintendo Switch Online. This is something that I didn't know was actually coming, and that is SharePlay, basically. Now, if you don't know what that is, let me talk to you about my PS4. My PS4, I have two PS4s. I've got a regular PS4, and then I've got a PS4 Pro. My son uses my regular PS4. I use the PS4 Pro, you know, because I'm the dad. And if I had the regular PS4 first, okay, and then when I upgraded to the Pro, I took the regular PS4 downstairs, hooked it up to the main TV, and let my son use that. And that is still my main PS4 according to my Sony account. And my PS4 Pro is like my alternate PS4 according to my Sony account. So what does this mean? Well, it means anything that I buy on my account can be played downstairs on the other PS4 on any account that's on that PS4. Now, on my upstairs PS4, the Pro, I only have the one account. That's Bill's account. Nobody else uses this PS4. It's just mine. But downstairs, my son has an account. My wife has an account. My niece has an account. My cats have an account. And they can all play any game that I purchased digitally from Sony with my account. Anybody can play it downstairs. And not only that, but they can play it at the same time as me. So I purchased Monster Hunter World on the PS4, and I can play it at the same time that my son plays it, which is really awesome, and I did not expect that to happen. Now, Bill, this is a Nintendo podcast. Why are you going on and on about a PS4? Well, I'm going on and on about that because Nintendo is now doing the same thing, albeit with a slight caveat. And that is that the non-primary console... Let me explain how I set it up at my house, and then I immediately removed it because of a concern that I had. Okay. I've got my Switch. My son has his Switch. When Nintendo announced the NX, I started squirreling money away. I had no idea how much it was going to cost, and it took a very long time for them to actually bring the NX out, which eventually became the Switch. By the way, if you are interested, I have a very cool NX t-shirt that I designed. You can find it over at my my Threadless shop. Just go to runjumpstomp.com/thankyou and check it out there. But as I was saying, it took them a really long time to get the NX out. So by the time it came out, I had actually squirreled away enough money to buy 2 Switch consoles. Again, pluralization of that word is weird. So I decided, it's a portable system, and I wasn't sure if I wanted my son to get his grubby little hands on it. He was 8 at the time. And so I bought 2. I bought 2 really because I was worried about pre-ordering it and not getting it. So I pre-ordered 2, and my plan was to return the other one. And then I asked my wife, I go, what do you think of us just keeping that one for our son? And she said, yeah, that's fine. This isn't money that we have earmarked for anything else. It's just your play money that you kind of have squirreled away over the last little bit. And so she said, go ahead and do it. And so I did. So I got home today after all of the craziness, and my son was downstairs playing Fortnite with one of his friends. And I said, where's your Switch? Let me take it upstairs. And he said, okay, here you go. So I brought it upstairs. They were playing on the PS4. I can't get him to play on the Switch for Fortnite, but that's beside the point. I brought it upstairs, and I logged in with my account on his Switch. And I typed in my password and everything, and then I was able to start downloading the games that I have on my account, which is a significant number more than he does because I get free games because of the podcast sometimes. So I started downloading those games to his Switch, and then once it was finished, I downloaded a game that I hadn't played in a while. So once it was finished, I loaded up that game on his Switch, and I tried to using his Switch account. So I downloaded it on his Switch with my account, and then I was going to try and play it on his Switch with his account, and you couldn't do that. Now, I think that is an issue only because we are in a family. So my son and I, and Nintendo knows that we're in a family because that's how he got his Nintendo Switch online, is through my purchasing the family plan. So Nintendo does not allow you on the non-primary console to play a game using a secondary account. This is exactly what PlayStation does. The only difference here is the way that it works when you are on the non-primary account. Because it checks online to see if you have the rights to play that game. And if you aren't connected to the internet, then you can't connect. Now, I don't know for sure if Sony does this with the PlayStation, but I would assume that they do. Otherwise, people would probably abuse it. And if I'm wrong about that, please feel free to let me know. But the Switch, that's not really an issue for the PS4 because you leave it at home, and it's always connected to the internet. My Switch is not always connected to the internet. So what I could do if I wanted to is we've got my Switch and my son's Switch. I could deactivate my account from being the primary console on my Switch and make it on his, and then all of this problem or issue would go away. But it occurred to me that then I wouldn't be able to take my Switch with me. And I said, okay, well, you know, I'm not going to do that. That's not an option for me. So can I just leave my account on his system so he could play it when he wanted? And I was thinking about it, and I don't think that that's a good idea. And here's the reason why I don't think that's a good idea. Cloud saves. What is going to happen with the cloud saves if he decides to, like, let's say that I installed, I don't know, Golf Story on his Switch, and he wanted to play Golf Story, and he can't play on his account, so he has to play on my account. So he starts up Golf Story, and it pops up who you're going to play as. He says RJS. He selects that. It jumps into the game. He plays a little bit, saves his game, and closes it. Does that then overwrite my cloud save that I had on that game? That is a very, very important question, and I don't know the answer to it. So if you are thinking about doing this primary, non-primary Nintendo Switch thing, be very careful, because you may end up losing your saves. I don't know how it works, and I'm looking at Nintendo's FAQ, which is linked in the show notes, so make sure you check those out. This is episode 240, so you can find the show notes at runjumpstomp.com/240. And it says, what are the differences between a primary and non-primary Switch console? So the main differences is, first off, you always have to be on the primary console. You can play any game that the main account holder has purchased as any possible user. Okay. On the non-primary account or a non-primary console, you can only play those games that were purchased by the account holder. You can't play them as another another avatar, I suppose. So that's where the whole cloud save nervousness came into things. Secondly, if you are on a primary Nintendo Switch and you are playing a game, well, actually, let me rephrase this. If you're on a non-primary Nintendo Switch console and you're playing a game, we'll say Mario Kart, and the primary Nintendo Switch turns on and decides to start playing Mario Kart, it will pause the non-primary account's game so that the primary console can start playing. That's something else that you really have to be careful of. While I'm glad that Nintendo is doing this, my only issue with this, the only thing about this whole thing that I don't like, I'm okay with it connecting to the internet. I just wish that people who are in my family group could also have the games that I want, even if we can't play them at the same time. Again, I would be perfectly fine with that. But I wish that the way that this worked, this would be the optimal way, in my opinion. I've got my primary console. I have my account. My account makes a purchase of a game. Everybody on my family account has access to that game, but only one of us can play it at a time. I think that is perfectly acceptable and much better than the way that Nintendo has done it, because the way Nintendo has done it means I'm not going to use this feature because I don't want my son overwriting my cloud saves because he connected to the internet last before I did or something. And that would be pretty devastating for some games, like the amount of hours that I've put into some of these. If you are going to be using this, I highly recommend that you only do it with somebody that you absolutely trust. All right. Let's talk more about Nintendo Switch Online. This seems like the Nintendo Switch Online episode. Big surprise there. This is via a story on Polygon. It says Nintendo Switch Online's NES emulator has already been hacked to allow more games. Not a huge surprise. There's a little YouTube video on Polygon's website where it looks like they are adding more games into it in order to play something that is not already installed. That's fine. If this is what people want to do, I would highly recommend that you do not do whatever it is that these people are doing, because you're basically swapping out one ROM for another. So my guess is what they've done is they've jumped into the file system somehow, and they've replaced the ROM of, in this case, I think it was Mario Brothers, with a ROM of Battletoads, which is fine, you know, if that's what you want to do. But I mean, I can see Nintendo like locking your account down and saying, nope, you can no longer play online if you're going to do this, and then you'd be out, and that would be terrible. Okay, I think that's it for the Nintendo Switch Online news. Let's talk about something else.
Hey, who's telling this story?
Okay, let's wrap the rest of the stories up in a lightning round. We're going to start off with something that is very, very exciting to me. The idea of an N64 Mini or N64 Classic. We've talked about this many times before. And it's even funnier now. Because, well, here, I'll tell you the actual story. Last year, Nintendo filed a trademark for N64, and now it has been approved. And the trademark was a logo, like a black and white logo of the N64 controller, which is very, very similar to a trademark that was filed of the NES controller right before the NES Classic came out. Same thing with the Super Nintendo controller, I believe. And now we've got the N64 controller. And, you know, it makes perfect sense. It shouldn't surprise anybody out there if Nintendo does this. I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I will be surprised if they don't, because these things have been kind of a gold mine. They really don't cost much to make, I don't think. And people, they just fly off the shelves. People can't get enough of these things. And it seems like Nintendo has finally, with the Super Nintendo Classic, and then with the re-release of the NES Classic, it seems like Nintendo has finally got things, their supply chain in order for the N64 Classic. Now, why is this hilarious? Well, if you are a patron, then I just posted a full episode all about the PlayStation Classic, which was just announced. I won't go into that here because this is a Nintendo show, but if you want to check that out, patreon.com/runjumpstomp. But it could be this holiday season, we may see a new head-to-head fight between PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64. And I think that is very interesting to see. The console wars may yet be alive. I'm not rooting for console wars. I just think it's very interesting. And I'm excited for the idea of an N64 Classic, mostly because emulation of N64 games is pretty crappy. And I would like to be able to play some of these games. Some of these games which I am a huge fan of, which I already bought multiple times. Probably not. No, I did buy. I bought Zelda. Shoot, what the heck is it? Ocarina of Time. I bought that multiple times. I bought it for my N64. I bought it for my 3DS. And I think I bought it at least one other time. I can't remember. Maybe on the Wii? I'm not sure. But I at least bought it twice. And Mario 64, I bought that on the N64. I bought that on the DS back when the DS first launched. So being able to play these on like my big TV where it's all been, 1080p resolution and everything, I think that would be fantastic. And of course, there's some games that I missed out on. And, say what you want about emulation, and this isn't really the place where I'm going to talk about that, but emulation for the NES is dead simple. It works really, really well. Emulation for the Super Nintendo is also dead simple. It works really, really well. Emulation for N64 is not quite as clean cut. It doesn't work quite as well. Things are a little wonky with it, and if anybody's going to pull it off and do a good job with it, then it's going to be Nintendo. So I'm excited for that idea, and I hope to see more from that. All right, before we get out of here, one last thing. I always try and save people money when I can, and right now, if you are in the market for a second Nintendo Switch, or maybe you're listening to this podcast because you're thinking about picking up a Switch and you haven't quite jumped in yet, there is currently a deal on Target.com, and you can just follow the link in the show notes, and there's no affiliate link here. I don't get any money from this. This is just because it's a PSA. You can buy a console and get 50% off a game with the purchase of that console. And I'm looking at the games that you can save 50% on, and it's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Zelda. And if you are thinking, maybe I'm going to check out this Switch thing, this is a hell of a deal. It's half price for Zelda. Sold. I mean, you gotta do that. Again, the show notes are at runjumpstomp.com/240. Or if you're listening to this on your phone, you could probably just do a swipe of some kind and you can see the show notes right there. Make sure that you do that and pick up that system pick it up on the cheap. Pick it up on the cheap. You're going to save a bunch of money. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'm sorry that we did not get a live show today. I appreciate your patience with all of the craziness that happens around this time of year. I mean, this time of year, it's my daughter's birthday, it's my wife's birthday, it's my mother-in-law's birthday, it's my mother's birthday. We started back to work. I'm siding the house. It's swim season for my niece. My son and myself and my wife all have belt testing coming up for Taekwondo. Plus, I also started another podcast, and I've got the Patreon podcast going on. So I have been incredibly busy, and I just appreciate a little bit of leeway. You guys are great. So thank you very much for, being cool with not getting a live show today. Also, make sure you check out NoteBlock, that balloon trip music. It is flippin' awesome. You can find it over at runjumpstomp.com/music. Most of the time when I record the live show, there's extra bits that don't end up in the audio show. And if you want to check that out, you can either go over to twitch.tv/runjumpstomp, or you can watch the videos after the fact over at youtube.com/runjumpstomp. And finally, if you're looking to support my content, maybe Audible's not your thing, that's fine. Head on over to runjumpstomp.com/thank-you. There is a bunch of links there that will help me create more content. Big thank you to everybody who has already supported the show. I am out of here, and I will see you all on Saturday. I will have a guest. I think it's this Saturday. Let me open up my calendar and make sure real quick before I... Yes. Oh, gosh. So Saturday will not be a live show either, because I am recording very late with a guest that would be Stealth on Twitter. He does a bunch of posts about Nintendo stuff on Twitter, and he's coming on the show on Saturday night. We're gonna talk about Nintendo news, but that means no live show. I might try and squeeze in, I don't know, something on Saturday, just so that, I keep that Twitch stuff rolling. But anyway, thank you all for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.